What is up, nerds? Welcome back to episode 31 of the Pickleball Pursuit podcast. I'm your host, Lewis, with Pickleball Pursuit, here with my co-host, Justin from Pickleball, etc. Justin, what's going on, man? What do we got today?
I think we're at the point now where we're going to remember what episode we're on. This has been like, we've been on a run.
We're there.
And I say we, I mean it's you. Been on a run. Today, we are, of course, going to get into some paddles. We're going to talk about a couple upcoming foam boys, some foam paddles. We are going to talk about some power testing that Lewis did. He's famously anti-radar gun, but broke out the radar gun this week. So we're going to get into that a little bit.
Extenuating circumstance.
Hey, you got to do it.
Clarified.
We are going to touch on some gear, maybe do a little unboxing. We're going to get into our new week, new main, or new week, same main. You know, become the most boring segment in the podcast. We have a tournament finally coming up this weekend, just in a few days. So we're going to talk about some predictions and try to get some predictions from you guys in the comments about it. It's always hilarious to read those. And in Net Gains, we're going to talk about what we're working on, what we expect to see in this tournament as compared to our past crappy tournaments. And then in NERDTOWN, we are going to dive into what is a sweet spot and kind of the definition of that. This is a suggestion from a viewer, and because all these new paddles are talking about, oh, the sweet spot's different on a foam paddle. So we'll see.
Yeah. Oh boy, I'll have to tell you what's going through my head after the podcast, but where is the sweet spot? So we're going to move on. Guys, I just dropped the J2K J2TI Plus review. If you have not seen it, go ahead and check it out. These are the new floating core, aka foam enhanced, aka Gen 3-ish type paddles from Honolulu Pickleball Company, and they honestly kick ass. They get great spin. They have ample power, a pretty good upgrade on their predecessors, the non-plus models, and the sweet spots are pretty much gigantic. So there is some break-in period for both paddles. I actually lent out my J2K Plus to a friend for them to test and then kind of bring back to me after a couple weeks to see how extensive the break-in period is. So should have that info and update to you guys pretty soon. But great paddles, really enjoy them. Honestly, very mainable. We're just handle snobs, really. Whether it be the length for me and you, really.
Yeah, no, definitely for me.
The quality of the handle pallets, mainly for you. So I'm getting there. I'm trying to be a snooty little boy like you, but it's hard for me to leave my roots. But anyway, great paddles. Code Pursuit saves you some money. They're $148 for the titanium and $145 for the Kevlar version. So Kevlar will be a little bit more hotter. The TI version will be a little bit more control oriented while still being all court. So they also have a refresh program, which, because of what we know with a lot of floating cores and the technology that some of them use, they do have break-ins. And break-in, in my opinion, is kind of becoming this cover-up term for the paddle just degrading over time and then finally breaking. I thought that the Pulse series was going to be, fairly stabilized, but one of my friends, I tested their Pulse V today, with the little press-in test with my fingers, and it was like crunching a bag of chips. Yeah, it was crunchy. I mean, it was crushed. So it seems like these floating cores but could have some longevity issues. Now, the Honolulu Pickleball Company has said that their construction is different than the Pulse series, so that could change, its durability. But regardless of that, they have introduced a refresh program for these paddles. So if yours breaks down past its expected, peak performance, you can refresh up to 2 times, which is both of these paddles would be 50% off. So I was kind of like, I don't know how I feel about this, but then I got quite a few comments on the review that people were like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I get 2 paddles for 50% off. Like, I get to upgrade my paddles once they get past a certain point and are no longer usable. And then I thought to myself, the warranty's 3 months. And if you're like a very active, high, not high, if you're like a very active advanced player, you're going to wear through your paddle in 3 months or less. So regardless of what happens, you're probably buying a new paddle every 3 months. Now, if you purchase these J2K Plus or J2 Ti Plus, and they're a paddle that you really like and want to stick with, you get to buy 2 of them for half off, which is a pretty like legit deal. And it's more than anything that any other company has currently offered, even though it's a shorter warranty period. So after kind of weighing that thought process, I do think that it is a pretty valuable thing for the consumer. And I think I might be a fan of it. Still unsure, feelings. But yeah,
this is the same thing I said originally when we learned about it. I mean, ideally, you would hope that a company would just engineer something that doesn't break down. But I also can understand their stance of saying, like, here's where we're at. Here's what clearly the market wants, right? These Gen 3 floating cores. There's a lot of brands selling them, and a lot of people are loving them, right? So I also can understand how Honolulu is like, all right, you guys want it, we'll provide it. And then they kind of take it a step further and say, let's be very clear. This is a consumable product, more so than traditional paddles like before this. So you will, kind of make your way through it, and it will get to a point of peak performance and then degrade from there, like you said. And this is basically the verbiage that they used. And to kind of own that right up front and say, this is a consumable, and, we don't necessarily love how consumable it is, so we'll offer you a way to, like the refresh program, like you said. So we'll offer you a way to kind of keep getting paddles and play within that peak performance at a discounted rate. So I think that's nice, and that's a good touch. It's good customer service, but yeah, it's tough to say. And let me say this is also important. Like I said, they're just playing the game that everyone else is, right? Like the market is demanding these paddles. All these other brands are making them. And Honolulu is making, equal, or let's just say equal performance versions, right? And at a much cheaper price, even to begin with. Yeah. You're not paying $300. You're not paying $280 for this paddle new. Like you just said, it's $148 or $145 after code. So there's something to be said there and respected, right? If you're one of these people who truly takes full advantage of the refresh program, and then you end up, getting your initial paddle and then getting 2 replacements at half off, you essentially at that point have gotten 3 paddles over the course of this time period for under $300 versus, some of the other larger Gen 3 floating core brands where you pay $280, almost $300 for 1 paddle. So, that's awesome, So it's just, I think you got to go in eyes wide open and take the good with the bad, and that's kind of how they are treating it as a company as well, by stating all this stuff up front. So
yeah, I think that's a great insight on it, and great take. But yeah, so check out the J2K Plus, J2 Ti Plus review if that's something you're interested in. Just an upgrade on pretty much everybody's paddle of the year. So
that's what I was going to ask you. I got a question for you. J2K just won paddle of the year from a lot of different people, right? And then now we're literally less than a month into the new year, and these paddles release, and you're saying, as well as others, that this is an upgrade. So you're telling me that, less than a month into a new year, they've already like outdone what was the best paddle of last year altogether from any brand?
Yeah. I mean, yes, that's for cool. Sure. It's not like a massive leap, but the increases in power and pop, while also remaining super stable and extremely forgiving, makes this an even better all-around paddle. So yeah, I would say definitely it is an upgrade on the.
Kind of shocking when you put it that way.
Yeah, it is, and I'm probably underselling it, but I'll call it what it is. It's an upgrade on literally one of the best paddles that.
If only the handle was a little longer.
Yeah, if only the handle was a little longer, or the taper was just brought up a hair, just thinned out a little bit. I'd be locked in. Be new year, new main. So we'll talk about some other quick paddles that will be next in the review queue. Coming up next will be the TrueFoam Genesis paddles from Carbon. I've talked a lot about these. They're very, very intriguing paddles, and I think they will be super popular for a number of reasons. There are a couple things that I don't love about them that you can watch in the review, which drops on the 30th. So just stay tuned for that. Then next we have the most polarizing paddle. Well, paddle release, really. The Ronbus Ripple R1.14. So this paddle, I've hit with it finally quite a bit. Played with this for about 4 or 5 hours. Holy crap, dude. This thing is just an absolute monster. Have you hit the release version yet?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played
What are your
a whole
thoughts?
session with it. It's powerful.
Yeah.
It's extremely powerful.
Yeah. It is so powerful. And it's not even just that it's powerful. It gets
a lot of spin.
Some of the best spin of any paddle I've ever used. Mm-hmm. So it's not like the gearbox where you have trouble shaping the ball and keeping it in, especially with those closer drives when you kind of just creep in past the baseline, or sometimes you're speeding up or jumping on a ball in the midcourt to drive it past the opponent and missing. With this, you can be virtually anywhere and you can generate enough spin to dip it in, apart from at the kitchen line with a giant drive, if we're being honest here. But it is truly insane how much spin and shape you can put on the ball with these, more so than one of the best paddles for shaping the ball, the Carbon TrueFoam, which is, I would say, in my opinion, probably the second best paddle in terms of shaping the ball. So I did a little test. I, as you guys know, take this with a huge grain of salt. I brought out the radar gun with the Ronbus Ripple, which is currently approved and passed the PB Core testing, and put it directly up against a paddle that failed the PB Core testing and will be sunset July 1st, which is the Joola mod. Now, I did 6 or 8 drives. No, I did 8 drives with both of the paddles, and I picked the top 4. Might have picked the top 5. I can't remember what I did in the video. I either picked top 4 or top 5 in the video, and by no surprise at all, which one do you think won?
The Ripple. Every single one, all 5.
Yeah. The lowest score on the Ripple was higher than the average score of the mod. I hit
crazy.
My top 4 drives, I think, were 53 miles an hour, 53 miles an hour, 55, and 58 with the Joola mod.
Which is very fast, by the way.
Yeah, it's.
In perspective, it's very fast.
I was doing a drop serve to mimic a drive, just because I felt like I would have a better chance of keeping all of these balls in. Whereas with serves, I feel like you can just go at serves so hard, and there's. I don't know why. I just don't like the serve test. I feel like a drive's a better representation of it, in my personal opinion. But anyway, with the Ripple, I think I was at 55, 57, 59, and 64 miles an hour were the top 4. So had I hit, 20 plus drives, I'm sure that they probably would have equivalated closer to 56 to 57 miles per hour on average for the mod, and probably 61 to 62 on average with the Ripple. But regardless of that, they shouldn't even be that close based on...
And that sounds close, but really a couple miles an hour is not
gigantic jump.
You're talking about a very short distance, like just from you to the net, 20-something feet, to the person at the other kitchen line, 29 feet from the baseline. So that couple miles an hour makes a huge difference over a short. So like saying, oh, it's 3-4 miles an hour faster is giant. That's very fast.
And percentile, like in percentage wise.
Yeah, definitely.
Because one thing that may not be like very common knowledge, the .43 score it actually means that the ball that is coming off the paddle that is shot into it during the PV core testing is coming off less than 43% or less in order to pass. So the speed that it comes in and the exit speed, it has to be 43% or less of what is the actual incoming speed. You saw that, dude? Isn't that right?
That is a very simplified version. And if only that's what the test tested, we would all be happy people.
But the point I'm trying to make is a 3% increase is a very drastic increase.
Yes, so, I understand your point. Yeah, I'm not going to dive into the PB core formula, but if only it was as simple as you just said. You scared me.
I thought I misunderstood it for a second, dude.
No, you understand the intent. I'll put it that way. You understand the intent of the test, the idealistic view of the test. The
objective view of the test?
Yes. We'll leave it at that, okay? But with the Ripple, I don't even necessarily want to get into like the implications of what does this mean for the game or approval. Maybe we will one day, but it's just exhausting to me, and I'll just end up ranting and stuff. But I will say about just like the playability, it's like a really good paddle. If as compared to these what you call like the ultra power paddles, regardless if legal or not, let's just compare it to like ultra power paddles, right? So we're talking about like the old Gearbox Pro Power. I say old, even though it's still good until July. The mod, the original Joola Gen 3, the Ripple. I mean, hell, even throw in like the Diadem Vice in there, like EVA paddles, because it's in the same neighborhood of power.
It is.
The Ripple is probably 100%. The best out of all of those. And I mean best, like easiest to play with, easiest to control. Remember the group we're talking about here. It's still not easy to control.
Yeah.
But when I played it the other night, like, I can hit moderately hard, but I don't like, I'm not like known for being powerful, right? But the craziest shots with the Ripple are anything remotely shoulder or chest high when you're at the net. Like, oh, someone just accidentally pops up a reset just a little bit too high, right? That night, after like a couple games, anytime I was getting a ball anywhere roughly in that area, the people I was playing against were just turning around. They weren't even going to attempt to defend it. And then it made me feel a certain type of way. So then I started to hit like drop shots or trying to be creative or something, maybe not using the full potential of the paddle. Obviously, if it was a tournament, I would have been different. But yeah, it's like, I don't even, not only did it not play my best, but I also didn't love that aspect of how it changed the game for everyone on the court. Okay, I said I wasn't getting into implications. Yeah, here I am.
Let me real quickly just read this from Brennan, who is a friend of mine that I've played with against multiple times. I played with the new release Ripple against him, and I asked him, I said, look, you've played with me against multiple paddles, including the Vapor Power, the Bread and Butter Invader, and the Ripple. What did you feel like whenever I was playing you with the Ripple? And he said, this is a direct quote from our Instagram message. He says, this is not discrediting you when I say this, because you're good driving with anything in your hand. When me and Caleb played you and Luke, I knew you had a good drive, but I wasn't doing anything in my power to avoid you. When you had the Ripple in your hand, every single shot after your first drive, I tried to avoid you because that drive was ridiculous, basically. So to put that in perspective, going from someone who has a good drive, but is not feared, to being someone who is feared with a good drive. Like,
You just made the best sales pitch.
yeah, yeah, you're right. I was telling you earlier, I feel like this like TikToker who's like, they messed up the TikTok shop, guys. Go buy this, blah, blah, blah. Can't believe somebody's getting fired. They messed up. And that's kind of what it feels like. It's like somebody messed up at USAP. They approved the most powerful paddle. Code Pursuit, save $20. I just feel kind of like an idiot saying that. But at the same time, like, God knows.
True is true.
If this is going to be ever sunset or delisted or retested or whatever.
Well,
so if you're somebody who wants that.
They put out a graphic today, by the way, that said,
oh, yeah?
Safe for tournament play until May 1st, 2026. So they were implying that was the soonest it could be sunset. So unless something crazy happens, which I'm not ruling out. We had plenty of crazy things. Unless something crazy happens, we are going to have a year plus of ripples, but not only Ripple. Don't think that other companies won't follow suit if it sells well and figure out how to, get around the tests. So I say we're going to have a year plus of this. I mean, we've already had 9 months of Gearbox Pro Power and Mod and Joola Gen 3, and just go to a tournament and anything like 4 or 5 or above is just full of those paddles and paddle techs. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah. This Ripple will be everywhere. I don't blame people for using it. I really don't.
No. I mean, me neither. And I don't even blame Ronbus necessarily for developing it. No,
of course
I get
not.
it.
Why would you not try to make the best paddle?
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about getting this and you have a dilemma of morality, if you will, this is something that you want to play with. It is legal, and you are more than within your rights to play with it. Yeah. So, people may rag on you, people may be annoyed with you, so just be prepared for that. But ultimately, you're doing nothing wrong. You're playing with a paddle that has been approved. So many people have done this with other paddles in the past that should not have been approved. It's just part of the industry right now, unfortunately. So
lucky for me, I'm too trash for a power paddle. So I don't even have to worry about it.
Same, brother.
Doesn't matter if I hit 5 hard drives in a game. I'm still going to play worse.
That's right. Ty, I'm looking at you, bro. We're all too trash for a power paddle. I told him I'd give him a shout out. All right, so we'll move on to the Slyce Speed coins that came in the mail. Just got them in. Going to open them up and check them out. So these got sent over recently, and somebody was commenting on last week when we talked about flick weights, saying that these were significantly cheaper options. And I looked up the price. These are $750 for a speed coin. So very similar.
I didn't know these existed. So thanks for the comment.
Yeah, very similar to the flick weights, but they're kind of like the nicer flick weights. Like they're a little more polished, and they kind of have this like ridge that is kind of angled, so it fits in nicely. So yeah, 3M adhesive, as you guys can kind of see right there, should stick very nicely into your butt cap where the sticker was. And they come in 10, 15 grams, 24, and a big old beefy boy 28. This 28 is thick.
Yeah, that's a full ounce.
Yeah, this thing grams. Is big. It looks like, it comes with a little alcohol prep pad in case you need to wipe off any residue or any stuff that may get in the way of the adhesive sticking.
Yeah,
which is a nice little touch, man.
I like the flick weights, but it's hard to ignore that is a very similar product.
Yes.
Maybe slightly better presentation based on what you're saying for essentially half the price or a little less. So
yeah, and you can buy one. Which is very interesting.
Free market.
I honestly, there's not quite as. I don't know if there's as many.
Oh yeah, wait.
Variations.
Did I get the price wrong? Did I say the flick weights were like 2 for $20?
I think it's 2 for 19, right?
Yeah. So the price actually is just, it's not half, because that's one for $7.50 or $8. But you can buy just one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the difference.
So
this doesn't have the 3,
clear,
6, or 9. It starts at 10 grams, I believe, which is important to note.
It is important to note, which wouldn't be for me because I had been testing the flick weight 9 gram and I didn't like it. So if I was going to use one,
sensitive baby.
Well, I'll get into my paddle setup stuff on New Week, New Main, but I was toying around with a few things this week.
Well, I do think that if you are somebody who does like to put a lot of weight in their handles, this is probably the way to go. And after Code Pursuit, save you, I think it's 10%. But, I mean, very nice product. Let me double check and make sure that 10 grams is the lowest one real quick. Sorry, hang tight.
And, another thing that they say on their site is they make it very clear these aren't legal for tournament sanctioned play because they extend the length of your paddle. While that may be strictly true, I highly doubt that any ref is going to pull out the tape measure on seeing this sticker. And, I commented on last week's also about the flick weights. And this may be similar story, but, they're pretty thin on thickness. But the little sticker that goes in the butt cap also, has some size to it. It sticks out further than the bottom of your butt cap, than the plastic. Mm-hmm. And what I pulled them out and I measured them with the calipers. And anything smaller than the 6 gram flick weight was actually thinner than the little decal. So you could go all the way up to the 9 gram flick weight without even worrying about, making your paddle longer. Of course, when you get to the chunky ones, then it's a bigger difference. But that's not really usable anyway. It's not like you're holding your paddle over the bottom of the butt cap. And I doubt anyone's ever going to say that to you. But I think the Slyce, their point is, they call these their test weights. They're saying, hey, get this, try this to see if you like a weighted butt cap and what amount that you like. And then once you decide and find out the amount you like, they want you to go back and then buy the actual Slyce cap in that weight. So.
Yeah, to be clear and even more, hammer that home, this is not going to affect the length of the paddle usably. It won't. So don't feel like that's a reason not to try to use these. If you get called out at a tournament, I will say you just got struck by lightning.
Yeah, that's weird. That'd be weird.
Yeah. But 10 grams is the lowest weight. So that is a little bit of a, not downside, but, they don't have as many lower weights like flick weight would have. So if you're not worried about lower weights, I'd go ahead and just get the Slyce speed coins because you can grab just one for $7.50. So Code Pursuit will save you some money with anything at slicesports.com. So we'll move on to everybody's probably least favorite segment. No. We're going to go to New Week, New Main, which is sponsored by Bodhi Pickleball. If you're looking for overgrips, edge tape, towels, sleeves, tungsten tape, and other pickleball accessories, you can utilize code PURSUIT, which will save you 15% at checkout. Thank you, Bodhi Pickleball, for sponsoring New Week, New Main. We love the grips. We love the sleeves. We love the tape. They have really good accessories. So,
yeah, true.
Justin, I'm going to let you start off first. New Week, New Main. We do have something new for New Week, New Main. I wanted to show you this
before we get into the paddles. These are dry grips from Bodhi. Thank you, Bodhi, for sending over all these. And these are all the colors that are currently in stock here. So we checked before the podcast, see what's in stock. Just for the regular pro grips, there was blue and pink, but for the dries, all of these were in stock. So I haven't got to try these. I just got these today. But want to let you guys know because we have gotten asked multiple times, does Bodhi have dry grips? Because previously there was just the pro grip. No, that was the only model. So this is a new model. Go check it out. Okay. So for the main, it's boring, y'all. It's New Week, same main, Neonic Flare Prime X. Okay, it's tournament week. I'm locked in. I did a little testing, but I'm not messing around. I'm not flirting around this week. I'm locked in. So
you're locked in. What were you testing this week? The Ripple and what else?
Secret stuff.
Secret stuff. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Secret stuff. Etc. stuff. Not public stuff. Secret stuff. Anyway, love this paddle. You guys have heard me talk about it so much. It just has enough offense without, making me a loser who can't play with the power paddle. So,
Yeah.
but it has more than enough. It's really fast. It's really maneuverable. My setup, I've said this a couple times here. This is 0.5 gram per inch tungsten state. This is 7 inches. So it's 3.5 grams on either side. And I kind of alluded to it.
Justin, is that the first time you've ever seen 7 inches?
No. So I kind of alluded to it, but I was also trying out the flick weight. I went back to the stock decal. I had the 9 gram one on here, and I didn't love it. And this is really nitpicky. I'm not to say the product is bad, but this is not the application. This paddle is already low balance, super fast, low swing weight. I don't think this is the paddle where you want to counterbalance and lower the balance even more. Whenever I did that on this paddle, it made the balance so incredibly low that the top of the paddle was almost felt like too quick and, I don't know, light. And it was messing up my timing on my counters. So just slightly, but hey, it's tournament week. Got to lock in.
We can't have that, dude. We can't have you being slightly ahead of the ball to hit it even lower into the net.
Exactly. So my timing was a little bit off. And, I felt like also, since this is already, like I said, a pretty light paddle, I actually prefer on this one having the weight a little higher up than it was, the weight distribution, because it felt like I had just a little bit more stability and plow through. And I felt like I lost a little bit of stability and plow through, and then also it kind of messed with my timing. However, on the right paddle, like say an elongated high swing weight, high balance point paddle, makes perfect sense to add weight down here and then balance that out. It's just this isn't the ideal paddle for it. So that's why I didn't like the flick weight, not because, it's a bad product, and I probably would use it on a different paddle. But yeah, so new week, same main. I don't even know how many weeks running this is, but it's a lot. And not only that, I had the Flare Pro Max for a while, and then we took a break, and then we got back together. So
it's a good paddle. I actually told Edwin to buy that instead of another Pulse because I don't know. I just don't think it's great. I think that paddle is better overall, number one, and number two, it just seems to not have the riddled with break-in / breakage. So
yeah, great
paddle. Pursuit brings it down to 126. I know we say that every week, but it's just a 126 crazy deal.
And just to talk about the price, and this isn't about the Neonic specifically, but just how good paddles are. I was talking the other night to some guys, and we were randomly talking about how expensive paddles have gotten, like $280, $275, and I was like, it's crazy though. Price doesn't always equate to performance. I'm not saying those expensive paddles don't have good performance, but I was like, what I will tell you is I have probably 100 paddles, and a lot of them are very expensive. Yet the one I choose to play with costs $126, and I am lucky in that I'm not considering the price. I'm just choosing to play with it because of the playability. Oh, yeah. But when you put it in perspective, you're like, well, price doesn't always equate to performance. So we know this, and probably our listeners know this because we promote paddles based on their performance, and then there are a lot of smaller brands that you've showcased in your reviews and on the podcast.
Yeah, very good point, and a good reminder. Just now that we have all these super high-priced Gen 3 and next-gen power paddles coming out, so price doesn't mean everything. Bigger brands doesn't mean better paddle. In some cases, they are better. In some cases, they're not. So just keep that with a grain of salt and keep an objective, open mind when seeing new paddles and comparing them. So new week, new main, man. I told you guys I was flirting. And boy, oh boy, have I been flirting. I've been DMing, been sliding in those DMs. I've been texting behind my invaders back.
You texted me.
Bro, I've been flirting with the 11624 Vapor Power and Pegasus Power paddles. Now, I was playing on Saturday night, and I was playing on the challenge court, and I picked this Pegasus paddle up, and about halfway through the game, this dude named Ty, he goes, Lewis, you play better with that paddle than I've ever seen you play with any paddle.
So that's what happened. That's what happened.
Ty, dude. First of all, I'm married, not only to the invader, but to my wife. Chill out, bro. Secondly, you're right. Maybe I should try to main this. So I
Did you
tested
get pegged
these
for a few days?
Yeah, I had the peg power going hard and got pegged. And I realized that I did not like that. And this paddle is about as close to a main as it possibly can be for me. The one caveat, and this probably just goes to me needing a bunch of time with it and a bunch more reps with it. But the one caveat and the one downfall of it is I have to think about it when I play.
On defense,
I have to think about. Say that again.
On defense, like you have to think about softening up.
Or drops. I have to think about how much pace I'm putting on my drops, and that creates error and more error than I would, typically have with a paddle that I don't have to think about and can just be free and fluid and in the zone or locked in, as some people say. It really is advice that I have started to give everybody. The past month, anytime someone says, "What's the best paddle?" I don't say, the J2K or the Neonic Flare Prime anymore. I say it's the paddle that you don't have to think about.
Yeah.
Because although objectively, in terms of performance, there are better paddles than whatever paddle you're playing with. But if you don't have to think about that paddle and you can play freely and hit your shots and just worry about staying in the game, it's probably the best paddle that you can possibly play with. So we are still locked in. We're still married to the gorgeous Bread and Butter Invader. New week, new main is officially a meme, and we are just locked in, bro. We're locked in.
Hey, but after this week, though, it's time. It's time to branch out because it'll be after the tournament. There's some stuff I want to give more dedicated time to. So.
There is something coming out in the future that really has my ears, perked up. Excuse me. So you guys will just have to wait. So we'll see. All right, man. Let's move on. We are going to give a big tournament update. Justin, you want to go ahead and do this for me? I've been talking a bunch.
Yeah. So, we kind of went back and forth on this. Are we playing 4-0? Are we playing 3-5? Are we playing 4-0? Are we playing 3-5? And then we asked you guys. Everybody said, play 3-5, scrubs. And we got 100 comments doing that. And we got 100 comments saying that. And then the very next episode, we were like, psych, we don't care what you say.
Guys,
we're playing 4-0. So, and then we were like, you know what? Let's play both. So there was we wanted to try to make it happen. We weren't sure. And today the brackets and the timing came out, and it looks like it's going to work out. So we have officially registered for both 4-0 and 3-5. So now everybody gets what they want. We get to play a lot of pickleball. Stop
whining and stop moaning and telling us, you guys too trash to play in 4-0.
You know what really hurt? Is, people on the internet, that's fine. Whatever. And of course, we've actually mostly only shown you guys lowlights. Even in Lewis's, pursuit of 4-0 gold, he's showing us screwing up. So
primarily,
I was fully expecting everyone to be play 3-5. That's fine. But what really burned is some of the people who I play with locally, who I played with a lot, started watching the pod a little bit, and they were like, "Yeah, dude, definitely play 3-5." And I was like, "Oh no, this is hitting too close to home here." So, so that made me reevaluate.
I don't know if this just says more about me, but fortunately, no one in my area told me to play 3-5.
Well, we'll see.
So
we'll see.
But I probably didn't ask enough people, but
what we had discussed previously is this is a tournament that we're traveling for, and we felt like we had nothing to gain for playing 3-5 only, right? It's we play 3-5, we travel to a tournament, play 3-5 and lose. yikes. If
Yeah.
we travel to the tournament, play 3-5 and win, we're like, okay,
Whatever.
it's 3-5. Like it didn't feel like that much to gain, especially, Lewis has now medaled in 4-0 tournaments very recently. So it felt like, kind of useless or a step back for him, especially. So we were like, we're playing 4-0. But yeah, now we're going to also play 3-5, and that's going to be fun. I think we'll get to play a little looser and more free, as long as we're not super tired. And lucky for us, the 3-5 bracket is after the 4-0 bracket.
Yeah.
So we can go like hard focus, fresh on the 4-0 bracket, and then play 3-5 later in the day.
That was pretty much the deciding factor for me. I don't know if it was for you, but knowing that we could fully focus our attention on the task and the goal that we have set out for us, that's most important. And then everything else is, lagniappe, if you will. So,
yeah, it's like bonus play. So,
exactly.
Oh yeah, I forgot about this. We had been talking about playing mixed on the next day, and we were looking for partners. Well, every single woman in Houston who plays pickleball saw our gameplay and said, absolutely not, that we will not play with you ever.
No chance.
So
you guys suck.
I exhausted all of my options and found no partners. And even asking people locally, like, I don't live that far from Houston. I was like, you want to go down and play? I'll pay for your entry, and if we win money, you can keep it. And they were like, with you? Nah.
Fam. Yeah.
Nah. So we're not playing mixed. So yeah, it feels better that now we get to play 2 different divisions. It's going to feel more worth it for the travel.
Now, Justin, let's be honest, that's not the real reason why nobody plays with us. Nobody wanted to play in the tournament that we're playing in, if we're being
I know,
truthfully honest.
It's more fun to say
it's way more fun to make fun of ourselves and, bury our egos. So, we will not be playing mixed. So you're just going to have to suck
Probably
it
for
up.
the best. I'm trash at mixed.
I feel like I do pretty good in mixed.
I rarely play mixed.
Yeah.
It's bad. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
So
not sure why. I guess I feel a little more freed up on the left and not have to, I don't know, feel like I can take more shots, which is just toxic masculinity, but we won't go down that rabbit hole right now. So tournament predictions, man. What do you think's going to happen? Any predictions?
I feel confident,
obviously,
dude.
We'll ask the viewers, guys, go ahead and comment down. What do you think we're going to do in terms of predictions in the tournament? So give us your 4-0 bracket prediction and your 3-5 bracket prediction. Make it fun. Make us laugh if you want to.
10 plus teams in each division, right?
I don't know. I think oddly enough, the 3-5 division is stacked.
No, that's not odd. That's normal. Yeah, it's like almost 16 teams. Isn't it like 14 teams or something like that? And then I think the 401 is 10 teams. I think there are 10 plus in both divisions.
I thought it was 8.
And it might be 8. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but it's not
good
it's not
amount of
3.
teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is for money. Mm-hmm. So we might just get rich. We might just win both and just get rich.
Yeah.
Doubtful.
I think that we're going to do well in this one, actually. It's crazy to say that because usually we say we're probably going to get smacked. But I feel like we've both been working pretty hard. I feel like my game has leveled up tremendously in the last 3 or so weeks. And I think I'm going to surprise you. I think you're going to look over to me a couple times and be like, sorry, you're going to be looking this way because you're going to be on the right. You're going to Lewis. That was a pretty nice shot, dude. That was kind of hot.
Big things coming, bro.
Yeah, big things coming, bro. So, and I have a feeling that I'm going to look over at you and be like, Justin, I'm surprised that you didn't hit that backhand flick into the net. That was pretty nice. That's kind of hot.
That's such a meme. I don't hit that many into the net. So, yeah, I feel pretty good too. Here's my prediction. I think we are somehow going to do better in 4-0 than we do in 3-5. So, I won't be surprised if that happens.
Bold and very likely prediction.
Yeah, exactly.
But man,
but here's the big thing. Okay, compared to our last tournament, I'm healthy. Like that's huge. I kind of talked to you guys about this, but this has like been serious for me. I've had months now of not being healthy, and it's getting older. I've realized you can't take that stuff for granted. And man, it's like been kind of a bummer when you like can't play to your full potential. So just recently, maybe within the past week, I've been playing and I'm finally like, oh my God, like I can fully play. I could sprint, I could slide, I can do whatever. I'm not worried. I'm not like holding back. So I finally feel healthy again, which is huge, and which has allowed me to practice more. Been getting coaching. So I'm just actually feeling prepared and feeling good and healthy, which is making me feel very confident, much more so than our last tournament, which I had no preparation and was not healthy. So,
and we just totally shit the bed in the last tournament.
Yeah, and we still could have won that one.
Yeah, so bad. All that I want to do is I just want you and I to play close to our potential. That's my only ever goal in a tournament. Obviously, I want to win,
right?
But no matter what, if I play up to my potential and I don't win, then I know that the other team deserved it and was better. And that's something I can happily take and, walk away from and learn from. So, hate giving away games. Happens all the time. It's especially in tournaments. Tournaments are so unpredictable. You can expect the unexpected, but definitely would love for both of us to just be like, yep, you know what? I played to my potential. I did what I wanted to do. I made the mistakes that I would expect I would make, but I didn't make the mistakes that were unexpected and completely, out of character. So full confidence here, man. Big things coming, bro.
Big things.
Let us know. Let us know in the comment section how you think we're going to do. Give us your best predictions. We look forward to reading those. Always. They're always really, really funny and good. So we're going to move on to just smoke my mic. Net gains. And today we're going to talk about what we're currently working on. So we usually give like a little tip and little, piece of feedback for you guys to work on. But I think it's important to kind of establish and talk about the things that we are working on our game specifically, rather than something that's going to fit the entire audience. So Justin, I'll let you go first. What are you currently working on right now, and why, more importantly?
Okay, I have 3 things, and I couldn't figure out how to hold up 3 fingers. They are essentially all kind of forehand things, which is surprising, but the main one is returns. I'm working on my backhand returns too, but my forehand return footwork I needed to work on heavily, and it's massively improved my game overall. Not just my return, but man, it's just crazy how much different a point can be when you start off with a good return. Forehand dinks.
Wait.
What?
It's not a good idea to hit 7 returns out in one game?
That was our previous strategy. We're going to try something different.
Yeah, let's try something different. Let's go for 8.
But just like hitting a good return, not only in and deep, but it just like gets you, a chance to basically get a put away fourth. Because if you put pressure on them, people at our level have a hard time hitting good thirds. And they will either get nervous and try to like rip a drive that may be out or in the net if you're, disciplined enough to let it go. Or if they try to hit a drop and it's high and you hit a good return, you're there, or your partner's there. So returns is like my number one for sure. But for me, it was a footwork issue, a big time footwork issue. And it's kind of embarrassing, like looking back at old footage. I can't believe what I was doing. I just was in my own way, my own muscle memory is so bad. Then forehand dinks, which again turned out to be a footwork thing. I talked about this last week about keeping the ball in front of you, even if that means stepping a little bit back off the line or shuffling at a diagonal. I had just been in some headspace where I thought like, no, I'll never back up off the kitchen line, even if it means the dink flies right past me. And then now I'm trying to hit it way out beside myself, So that's been a massive improvement. And then my third one has been my forehand drive, which was always dangerous, but super inconsistent. And now I've kind of flipped it. It's a little less dangerous now, but far more consistent. And I have a lot more control. My drives recently, I've been able to kind of just put them wherever I want. And, kind of also control the amount of speed and amount of dip a lot better. And that has been again, kind of a footwork thing, but more so about staying down. And we might go into this, but just going through your shots and keeping your head and chest level instead of like it's just an old tennis thing where you're hitting like these loopy forehands and you like stand up out of the shot.
Yeah.
I was doing that too much. So those have been my 3 things, and I feel like I've made massive improvements on those. And ironically, or maybe not ironically, maybe intentionally, those are all 3 skills that are really good for a right side player. Because when you're on the right, most of the thirds you're going to get are going to be your forehand, right? Because anything your backhand third, theoretically your left side partner is going to take. So now I have forehand drive thirds that are much better. And forehand dinking from the right, which is much better. And you do a little dinking, middle dinks on the left with your forehand. But and I realized the other night I've gotten a lot better at the right side. And I've been intentionally practicing. I've been stacking and half stacking with a lot of people because we had talked so much about me playing right. So I was like, all right, I'll just embrace it. And then the other night I ended up playing left a lot. And I was like, oh, crap. I still feel good in the left, but I almost feel like I've gotten a lot better at the right. I'm like, dang, did I just become a right side player? Which is kind of funny. So I guess we'll see.
Well, it will be a very unlikely scenario if you are not on the left at some point. Some point in this tournament.
I'm comfortable playing left. I was just saying I'm much better on the right than I used to be. I used to feel trash on the right.
Yeah. Another thing that one of my coaches has told me, Seth, which kind of resonated with me a lot because he is such a highly skilled player and so long and so good on the left. And I watched him play in the 4-5 plus tournament and smash people. He was switching with his partner all the time to change his patterns up. And I talked to him. I was like, you're very good on the left. Like, you're definitely better on the left than you are on the right. Why are you doing that? It's like, well, you cannot give them the same look over and over again, especially as the level of play increases. You need to change up the looks, which is probably why, we don't talk about pro pickleball very much, but the Johns brothers, they give everybody the same look, which is why people are starting to catch up with them. So
it took them years to figure it out.
yeah. I think it's something that we need to, if we feel stuck in a point or stuck in a certain section or segment of the game, let's switch it up. Let's change it up.
I agree.
Let's make them feel something different, because I would rather play any side as long as that means we win. So you had you finished what you were going to say about all your things you're working on?
Returns, forehand drives, forehand dinks.
Beautiful. I am working on the umbrella, thing that I'm working on is staying low. Staying low in 3 specific circumstances that I've had a little bit of trouble with. My drops are actually very consistent. However, I've noticed that I'm hitting a lot of my drops off of my back foot, which, although I can be fairly consistent with them, it seems to be when I miss big on my drops. And you don't want to miss big on your drops, especially, as you get 4-0 plus, people have pretty, good rolls and flicks and putaways. So been trying to stay a little lower on my drops to make sure that they're a little bit more consistent and I'm not, kind of off balance. I've been making sure that I want to stay low on my blocks. This is super important and a huge problem both Justin and I had in the Lost Pines tournament. And my major issue was that as I was standing up on a lot of blocks and just kind of didn't really have a good foundation and was not able to kind of set my feet and therefore have a more accurate shot. So with blocks, I try to attack them a little too much, but found that staying low keeps me a little bit more defensive and less prone to trying to, be too aggressive on blocks. And lastly,
let me ask you this before you go to the next one. I want to ask you about the blocks because I've also been working on my ready stance, which I talked about, which involves being a lot lower and paddle chest high. And what I've noticed is I've gotten way better at letting balls go now. Because because I'm like a tall guy, right? So if I was standing up straight, it was so easy for me to hit balls shoulder high. Those are all long. Like if they have any pace behind it. Now that I'm like squatted much lower, a ball that is, head high, which was previously my shoulder high, isn't even comfortable for me to try to hit. So it's way easier for me to just be like, whoa. And then I'm like, oh crap, that's out anyway,
Yeah.
So for me, that is help define the whole shoulder high, let it fly thing. Whenever you're actually squatted in a lower position for tall guys like us, it is much easier to define that. Me personally, I'm like, okay, is it here? I'll hit it. If it's up in my head, it better be going super slow and I'm going to kill it. Or if it's going at all fast and it's head high, it's out. So,
yeah, I haven't. I have a good tendency of letting high balls go on drives, but I have a bad tendency of letting those high looping ones that kind of end on the
Cobat sleeve.
Back third. Yeah, the Cobat sleeve, as we say, in Baton Rouge. But that is one of my poor tendencies. I do let a good portion of out drives go, but I do have a bad tendency of letting those high loopy ones go, which I think a lot of people do, honestly. It's kind of hard to tell. You don't
expect them to like.
But me, I notice it more so from me than I notice from other people. But that could just be, because I'm locked in on what I'm doing. So, yeah, that's good. It does definitely help with gauging out balls. So, last thing I try to make sure that I'm staying low on. This is like pissing me off, to be honest, is my forehand speed up down the line. I'm hitting it like bent over rather than getting low and staying in that dink position and kind of disguising it. It's got to be a tell. Like, it's got to be a tell from anybody who's on the other team. They see me kind of bend over rather than squat down to hit this. They probably know that the speed up's coming, but it doesn't matter because I just hit it into the middle of the net and it doesn't go over. So, no big deal. You can see that tell, but it doesn't matter. You can just sit there and watch it go to the net and, tell me I'm a great basketball player. But staying low is going to help me tremendously with that shot, but also not having, to think that I have to hit it hard. You don't have to hit speed ups hard, especially like top spin speed ups. You're hitting like 30-40% of what you would normally hit. It's not a hard shot. It's more of a shaping shot and a placement shot over anything. So that's another topic for another time, but staying low in those three circumstances is going to help me tremendously in, being a more consistent player and hopefully winning more tournaments and getting to that 4 or 5 level. So anything to add, Justin?
Now that we said we're working on, once we get the tournament film back, we'll be able to cut together us messing up every single thing we said we weren't going to do.
Yep. Absolutely. Perfect. Yeah, it'll be perfect. Well, thank you guys for coming to Net Gains. So we're going to move on to everybody's favorite segment, NERDTOWN, baby.
Choo-choo.
Mayor, take us there, dude. What do we got?
Okay, well, like NERDTOWN Town Hall, let's get a couple items out of the way before we dive in too deep. Number one, I wanted to say we haven't done a Q&A in a while, and I actually really enjoy them. So I would like to do... I
was thinking about that today, too.
Yeah, I would like to do another Q&A, and those usually kind of take place of NERDTOWN because they tend to be answers about nerdy questions, but they can be questions about anything. So please give us some comments and some questions, in the comments so we can do a Q&A. What are your burning questions? There have been a couple over the past few episodes where sometimes I'll answer in the comments, I'll reply back, and other times I think it's good, I'll be like, I'm going to save that, and we'll talk about it. So, I would like to do a Q&A. Okay. Second thing on NERDTOWN Town Hall is to let everybody know Lewis was pretty right last week. Whenever we bust out the things and drew graphs and we were talking about exponential power curves.
I'm not that stupid, guys. I'm actually like medium in terms of intelligence.
He's actually average intelligence. Yeah. So Lewis drew a curve and I laughed at him and I was like, ha ha ha, that's not an exponential curve, that's a logarithmic curve, which is true. So it is a logarithmic curve, but what he's right about is, and as we curve, compared basically. It more, did you have that from last time or did you just do it again?
No, it was already there. I was
going to say that looks exactly the same.
Yeah, whenever we got off, I drew it and I didn't even take it off. So yeah, but go ahead. Sorry, Didn't want to interrupt you. This is your segment.
This is something we'll go into more once we have real data, but his sketch of a power curve for a paddle is more accurate than an exponential sketch where like it goes, whoop, So Lewis wanted everybody to know, and he wanted me to make a special announcement that he is average intelligence and not as dumb as we all thought. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Ready? All right.
I am dumb, but not as dumb as you all thought. But real quick, I just want to say, guys, the reason why it's like this.
This guy.
You'll notice this with like gearboxes or ripples or mods. Very quickly, it's going to jump up in power and be very challenging to control and dial in your different control-oriented shots. And then it kind of just levels off as you continue to add copious amounts of power as you would with a power paddle like that. So that's why I drew this graph, because I'm a smart boy.
Okay. So what we're going to talk about this week in NERDTOWN is sweet spot. What is a sweet spot? And this is particularly relevant right now because we are hearing individuals talk about this, but also companies market this, that sweet spots on a full foam paddle are different. It's a different construction. So they're different than traditional paddles. And while that may be true in some ways, the message that's getting across is a lot of full foam or foam enhanced paddles are coming out with really poor metrics, as in very low twist weights. And then the comeback to that is, don't worry about the twist weight. Don't worry about the twist weight number. This is a full foam core, so it plays differently than a traditional paddle. Don't worry about that really low twist weight.
Don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
I've seen a lot of owners say that.
And this topic, by the way, was a suggestion. So thank you. And if you have any suggestions for NERDTOWN, like I said, leave them. So there's a couple things I want to talk about when defining sweet spot. I really think that there are two aspects of a sweet spot. Someone's subjective feel of a sweet spot. Number one is obvious. It's energy return. How much energy is returned back to the ball, depending on where you hit it, right? So if you hit the ball like right here, dead center, obviously it's going to return way more power than if you hit it like over here, my favorite spot. Less power return, right? So, dude, every time I hit resets right here, I don't know what the deal is. But so the number one factor for a sweet spot is where is the most energy return, right? So we know that to be this center area, literally about 25% down the paddle based on the length and in the center. And then as you travel away, you get lower and lower energy return in any direction. So that's the first part. The second part has to do with how the ball feels. And this really is about vibration dampening, right? So if the ball feels very harsh, as it does, you hit an edge shot. Everyone's done this, but when you really rim one or hit near the edge and it's like clunk, and that right there makes you feel like, oh, I hit outside of the sweet spot or a sour spot, right? That's just really vibration passing in your hand. And vibration is energy, just like there are other types of energy. So whenever you hit over here, some of the energy is transferred into vibration rather than back into the ball. So you've lost the energy back into the ball. So that is outside of the sweet spot, right? As in, but when you hit here, there are fewer poor vibrations because most of the energy is transferred back into the ball. Okay, so now let's take those two items and talk about this claim that, more modern full foam paddles, the twist weight doesn't matter, right? And that they have a larger sweet spot just because of the construction. That may be true in one of the two ways. Like we just mentioned, one of the two ways is vibration dampening. Obviously, we know foam has very good vibration dampening properties. Foam in general, I'm speaking generally, there are a lot of types of foam. But so when you hit an off-center shot on a foam paddle, it may not feel as harsh. So you have the subjective feeling of a larger sweet spot. And that's real. That's not fake. That may be what people define as a larger sweet spot. It doesn't feel like crap when you hit further outside because there's more dampening going on. Even with foam enhanced paddles, not just full foam paddles, but the ones that have the double ring or a wider ring, that is essentially more vibration dampening. So it makes it feel like it has a larger sweet spot. Take the Apes Pulse series, for example. Okay. Now, on the energy return aspect, if foam is a more elastic material than polypropylene, there is also a chance that more energy is returned off center. So yes, it can also have a larger sweet spot than a traditional paddle. So you're probably thinking, what the hell, Justin? You just said you're going to tell me how they're wrong by saying it's a larger sweet spot, but yet I just in 2 ways said how it's correct, that usually foam enhanced paddles do have larger sweet spots. Well, here's the catch. Whenever people say, oh, twist weight number's not the same, it doesn't matter. Yes, it does, because the twist weight is not a correlation for sweet spot. A larger twist weight number doesn't mean you have a larger sweet spot. A larger twist weight number means you have more stability, right? And like we talked about, energy in has to go somewhere. And if you hit it perfectly, you get the max amount back into the ball. Well, imagine I hit here and then now bonk, this paddle twists, right? So I've now lost some of the energy of the ball into the twisting of the paddle. So this is why the sweet spot is lower when you hit off center, and now you lose some energy into the paddle itself, into your hand, into your arm, right? So a twist weight number, if this has a twist weight, I know this one has a twist weight of 7.5. Whether this has full foam in the core or anything, if the weight distribution and everything else is the same, a ball hitting here on a full foam paddle versus this paddle is still going to do the same amount of twisting in my hand and lose the same amount of energy. So a smaller twist weight number on a foam paddle doesn't mean, oh, just ignore the twist weight number. It's foam. It's got a large sweet spot. It doesn't. So, but yeah, that's the key, is that twist weight is a number that correlates with stability, not with sweet spot. But subjectively, a more stable paddle has a larger sweet spot, like we've talked about with the Honolulu paddles or standard paddles in general. Because if you have more stability, you have less twisting, then that means you lose less energy twisting, more goes back into the ball, like we've already defined, more energy back into the ball, better sweet spot.
Yep.
Okay. Rant over.
Yep.
That makes sense?
The main difference is just the vibrations, basically, is what you're saying. And which is why...
which matters, by the way. I mean, like, feel matters,
it's big.
For sure.
Yeah. But it's not necessarily...
It's subjective. Yeah, it's not objective. It's subjective. So,
yeah.
I mean, in the definition of sweet spot in general is subjective when you're talking about how large it is, right? Because if you want the objective definition of a sweet spot, it is 1 point. On any paddle, it's 1 point. What we are defining as sweet spot is how quickly and how harshly does that fall off go from that point outwards, or up and down. So that's what we subjectively define as sweet spot, not objectively. So feel definitely matters because it is a subjective thing.
Which is why I don't like the radar gun test, because if you're not hitting it in the same spot, you're going to get different amounts of energy return. So, I mean...
Yeah, it's true. I mean, like I said, subjective sweet spot is exactly here. And if you hit just a half inch off, that is a significant difference. And we see your ball dust. We know that you're not hitting the sweet spot.
This one, probably right here, is probably the most powerful shot that I got. This one right here, probably a little bit less powerful. Quite a bit less powerful. So, your location that you strike the ball in the face has a tremendous effect on the power output or exit velocity of the paddle, and obviously, as Justin said, the vibration feedback, and therefore, its ability to feel like it's more forgiving, larger sweet spot, and more stable. So it's good NERDTOWN, bro.
Something the nerds will love. When I get a little bit more time, I'm gonna build a sweet spot machine, a sweet spot mapper, and I'm gonna build something that and I didn't know if I was gonna say it publicly, so don't steal my idea, somebody.
If you do it, we will probably
not do anything. But once I have a little bit more time, I'm gonna build a machine that will measure the energy output and vibration frequencies at different points across the face of different paddles, and then use that information to essentially make heat maps or sweet spot maps of those paddles. And then we can kind of define better the sweet spots of different paddles. I think that would be valuable to add to reviews also.
I think they're going to be shockingly small compared to what people think they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, but what's good enough? If it's like, if you hit a spot that is 80% as good as hitting dead on, that's probably fine. But as soon as you get to 50% as good as the middle, now you're dumping stuff in the net. Now you're shanking stuff. So...
Yeah, you see those overlay graphics that people put on paddles as the sweet spot area, and I'm just like, that is way too large. Way too large.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But that's for another conversation and when you have the data points. So anything else before we sign off, man?
we didn't do it under an hour.
I know, dude. We never do. Last
One
week
day.
you were acting like we were doing such a long podcast. That was like, we've done 31 episodes, and I think we've had 5 under an hour.
Oh, we've had some under an hour. I didn't know we had any.
5.
Ever.
Yeah.
But
Only
they
5.
like none of those were under 50 minutes though. There was
You know what the
close.
shortest one was?
What?
Take a guess.
54 minutes.
No, like specifically, which one was the shortest?
Oh, the one that you did solo.
No. The one where we were doing it in person.
Oh, in person. Yeah, that makes sense actually. Yeah.
Yeah, we can't be
We were
around each
tired
other
and didn't
that
have
long.
much to talk about. That makes perfect
That is
sense.
true. Yeah, we didn't. I felt like we talked for a long time though. But anyway, all right, guys. We good here?
Are you asking me or the
Yeah, I'm
guys?
asking you, bro. Yeah, I'm asking you.
I guess.
All
Next
right,
time we
dude, I
see
don't
you
care
guys,
about
we'll have
you.
a couple
Shit.
medals around our neck. But
That's right, baby. Oh man, we can be. Hey, look, if you see the wine, you know it was a good tournament.
big things.
All right,
coming, bro.
guys. Big things coming, bro. I am your host, Lewis, with Pickleball Pursuit. This is Pickleball Pursuit Podcast. My co-host is here, Justin, with Pickleball, etc. If you guys have any questions, any content, any topics that you'd like us to cover in the future, be sure to put those in the comment section below. Don't forget to put your tournament predictions that Justin and I are going to have this weekend. We'd love to read those. Always enjoy them. Until the next one, we'll see you guys later. Peace.